Recognize Representative Dean Phillips of Minnesota for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I'm one of 20,000 Gold Star children from the Vietnam War, and now joined by 5,000 more Gold Star children from both Iraq and Afghanistan. And I just want to acknowledge all of my brothers and sisters who've had to watch the events of the last month that so sadly looks so strangely familiar as it relates to the fall of Saigon, of course, 50 years ago. I also want to honor the service of many of my colleagues, many of whom serve on this very committee, including my friend Brian Mast, who just about gave his entire life to our country. And I honor all of you. I want to start with that. And let me assure you, it's been difficult, heartbreaking, and disappointing to watch the last number of years and, of course, the last month. But I also have to say I'm terribly disappointed in my colleagues, some of them on this committee today. I think it's embarrassing, I think it's counterproductive, and I think it's shameful, frankly, because I don't hold Republicans accountable for my father's death, even though he died in a Republican administration. I hold John Kennedy, I hold Lyndon Johnson, I hold Richard Nixon, I hold Congress accountable as well, and many other individuals. I just ask that the spirit of this committee return to our core job. With that, Mr. Secretary, you've spoken about lessons learned for both our country, not terribly specifically. I'd welcome you to cover that again. What specifically did we learn? What should we have learned collectively? And also personally, what have you learned? What might you do differently as you look back over the last number of months in preparation for this exit?
Thank you very much. Thank you for what you said, and thank you for the question. I think we all have to take stock of the last 9 months and the last 20 years, because to reach the point that we've reached today, it's an accumulation of decisions, strategies, plans over 20 years, as well as over the last 9 months, and all of that has to factor in. Look, my biggest takeaway is that when it comes to using force, we are very good and very effective at doing that to deal with a terrorist threat to this country, as we've demonstrated time and again, and as we demonstrated after 9/11. And we need to make sure that we always have the capacity to be the most effective country on earth when it comes to that. At the same time, I think one of the hard lessons, at least to me, of Afghanistan is even the best intentions, and these were really good intentions, to try to remake a society, remake a country in an image that looks a little bit more like what we believe is right, may be beyond our capacity. And inserting ourselves into the middle of a civil war and staying there with no prospect of actually creating a decisive effect also is something we need to think really, really hard about. I think we got to a point in Afghanistan, not when it comes to counterterrorism, where thanks to the extraordinary courage, bravery, and success of generations now of men and women in uniform, as well as the diplomats and intelligence officials who worked with them, they did a remarkable job in dealing with the people who attacked us on 9/11. But when it came to this much more expansive effort to defeat the Taliban and to remake Afghanistan, that was a different story. And I think we got to the point where arguably we knew how not to lose, but we were not capable in that frame of winning. And the result was it went on.
Secretary, I've got about a minute left. I just want to reclaim a little bit of time.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
I also want to salute our staffers in Democratic offices,
Yes.
Republican officers, many of them very early career staffers who have done yeoman's work to help people evacuate from Afghanistan. I want to celebrate them. But what I've heard from many, Mr. Secretary, is that the coordination of this effort was very challenging. Very quickly, what grade would you give the United States of America for its whole of government planning and execution of the withdrawal plan? What grade?
I can't give it a grade, but here's what I can say. I think that you're right. We, in this extraordinary situation, had to do a tremendous amount of work to get to a better place, especially when it comes to coordination. And there's a lot of work yet to be done, learning from what we did and what we didn't do, going forward to put us in a better place. And so I think from my perspective at least, it definitely improved, but it did not start from a great place, largely because of the exigency of the situation that we were in. But here's the question that I hope we can work on together. Knowing that, how do we put ourselves in a better position going forward so that we can get that kind of coordination, cooperation stood up much more quickly?
I appreciate your candor, and I yield back. Thank you, sir.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now